Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Jamil from Physiology Department, FMU, Faisalabad Medical University. Now, this lecture is in sequence with the endocrinology. Earlier, I have delivered lecture on the introduction of the hypothalamus, its connection with the pituitary gland, the anterior pituitary, the posterior pituitary. We have studied all the hormones which are coming from the posterior pituitary, the two hormones, then we see the anterior pituitary, six hormones. And today we are going to take one by one different hormones. The today's hormone I have selected for you is the growth hormone. Our height, our weight, all these things depending upon the growth hormone. Now the sentence over here is written that I have to make it in a bigger picture. That all the hormones from the anterior pituitary, they have some target glands. For example, thyroid gland is a target cell for the TSH hormone coming from the hypothalamus, but coming from the pituitary. But the growth hormone is without any target cell. It has direct effect on all the tissues of the body, almost all the tissues of the body. So it doesn't have any fixed target gland for it. And the growth hormone, the other name for it is a somatotropic hormone. Somatotropic hormone. If we see generally what it causes, it increases the mitosis. The process of the mitosis is enhanced by virtue of this hormone. Then another very important thing, that the number of the cells is also increased. Then the rate of production of protein synthesis is increased. Then there is an increased mobilization of fatty acids, and then there is a decreased glucose utilization. So the net effect is the use of fats enhance the protein utilization and conserve the glucose. Now this growth hormone is controlled by the two hormones coming from the hypothalamus. One is known as the growth hormone release hormone. The growth hormone release hormone is going to affect the more and more production of the growth hormone by the anterior pituitary, while the growth hormone inhibiting hormone is going to inhibit the production of the growth hormone. Once the growth hormone is produced by the anterior pituitary, it is going to cause directly some effects, like it's going to cause the effect on the bones and different tissues of the body. But the growth hormone has got specific effect on the liver. From the liver, there are different factors that are produced. One of them is insulin-like growth factor 1, or somatomedins. They are produced from the liver, and further they are going to affect the bones, the muscles, and the epithelial cells. We will see later on in this lecture how it's going to affect the different parts of the body. Now the growth hormone control the secretion. It is controlled by the two neurohormones I have said earlier. As I have said earlier, the release from the hypothalamus. One of the growth hormone, release hormone, which stimulates growth hormone secretion, and growth hormone inhibiting hormone, which inhibits the growth hormone. Then the stress increases the growth hormone secretion and inhibits the growth hormone inhibiting hormone. High levels of the growth hormone has a negative feedback effect on the production of the growth hormone, release hormone by the hypothalamus. That means if the growth hormones production is more, then it has got negative effect. It automatically inhibits the hypothalamus, from where the growth hormone, release hormone, which will be inhibited. Then its secretion is or its release is in the form of pulsatile fashion. That means pulsatile movement. You can see in this graph there is sudden increase This is an increase in this wave, this is an increase in the production, then there is a decrease in production. So this is a pulsatile moment, pulsatile type of secretion. Then what are the different factors which stimulate or inhibit the secretion of the growth hormone? Now if you take the one side, the stimulants of the growth hormone, you will see the decrease in the blood glucose. If that is the hypoglycemia, if the blood glucose level is decreased, that means growth hormone secretion will be enhanced. Then decrease in the blood-free fatty acids. If the fatty acids are decreased in the blood, then the growth hormone secretion will be more. So if you move to the opposite side, that if the blood glucose low, then there is more production of growth hormone. Similarly, if the blood glucose level is high, increase, then it will inhibit the growth hormone secretion. Similarly, if the free fatty acids they are increased in the body, they will inhibit the formation or the synthesis of the growth hormone. Then next is the starvation or fasting or the protein deficiency. All these things act as a stimulant for the release of the growth hormone. While on the other end, you can see the aging, obesity, growth hormone inhibit aging and the obesity. Both these things they are going to decrease the formation of the growth hormone. The growth hormone inhibitory hormone, that is somatostatin, it is also coming from the hypothalamus. This is going to inhibit the formation or the release of the growth hormone. Then the growth hormone exogenous, that means if you give the growth hormone through an injection form or through from an outside source, that will decrease the production from the inside of your body, from the pituitary. So that is exogenous source of the growth hormone. If it is provided through the exogenous source, then the endogenous production will be decreased. Then somatomedins, insulin-like growth factors, they are also going to inhibit negative feedback effect. They are going to inhibit the formation of the growth hormone. On the other side, if you see that the trauma, stress, excitement, exercise, all these things act as a stimulant for the release of the growth hormone. While the testosterone, estrogen, deep sleep, especially the stage 2nd and 4th, they act as a stimulant for the release of the growth hormone. Then a very important, the last one is the growth hormone, releasing hormone. So all these you can see as a compare and contrast that what are the factors which stimulate the growth hormone and what are the factors which inhibit the secretion of the growth hormone. Now let's see what are the different effects of the growth hormone on the protein metabolism, on the carbohydrate metabolism and the fat metabolism. We will see one by one. The growth hormone in general, where the words are written there, the growth hormone, this growth hormone enhances all aspects of amino acid uptake and protein synthesis. This is your amino acids. At the same time, reduce the breakdown of the proteins. That means the growth hormone increase the production or the synthesis of the proteins by starting by the amino acid uptakes, and at the same time it reduces the breakdown of the proteins. Now how this all the function is going to happen? The growth hormone basically promotes the protein deposition. Now the step by step. Number 1, transport of amino acids through the cell membrane, and this action of the growth hormone resembles with the insulin. The way in which the insulin causes the entry of glucose into the cell, the same way in which the growth hormone causes the transport of amino acids into the cells. Then enhancement of the RNA translation to cause protein synthesis by the ribosomes. Third one is the increased nuclear transcription of the DNA to form more and more RNA, because the RNA is required for the production of the protein synthesis. So there is increase in the nuclear transcription of DNA to form more and more RNA, leading to the more and more formation of the proteins. Then decreased catabolism of protein, that means protein breakdown is decreased. So if you see all these four steps, the first one is how the production of the proteins are increased, and the last one is once they are produced, how the protein breakdown is avoided. That is also is a function of the growth hormone to avoid the breakdown of protein, that is decreased catabolism of the proteins. So this was all about the action of the growth hormone on the proteins. Now let's see what's going to affect on the fats. Growth hormone increases the utilization of fatty acids for the energy. That means whenever the energy is required, the preference of the growth hormone is to utilize fatty acids as a source of energy. Now let's see step by step. Growth hormone increases the release of fatty acids from the adipose tissues. That means first function, the first step which is taken by the growth hormone is to cause the release of fatty acids from these storehouses, that is adipose tissues. Therefore, increase fatty acids concentration in the circulation. That means once they are released from the fatty acids are released from the adipose tissues, their concentration in the circulation or in the body is going to be increased. Second step is the growth hormone is going to convert these free fatty acids into acetyl-CoA, and this acetyl-CoA is then utilized in energy formation and increase in the lean body mass. So first step was the release of fatty acids from the adipose tissues. Then the second step is to convert these fatty acids into acetyl-CoA, and then this acetyl-CoA is utilized as a source of energy, and it causes the increase in the lean body mass. Next, so under the effect of the growth hormone, fat is used for energy in preference to carbohydrate and the proteins. That means although the carbohydrate is the first choice, glucose is the first choice for the source of energy, but for the growth hormone, glucose is not the preferred choice. The best choice, the preferred choice for the growth hormone is the fatty acids, and also not the proteins. Then when there is excessive utilization of the fatty acids, there is more and more formation of the acetoacetic acid, which is a ketone body. Acetoacetic acid is one of the ketone bodies. We have got three ketone bodies in our body. One of them is this acetoacetic acid. So once there more and more fatty acids are utilized, so more and more acetoacetic acid is produced, and this production is from the liver, and it will lead to the ketosis or the excessive ketones in your body and the fatty liver. All this effect is known as the ketogenic effect. This ketogenic effect is due to the growth hormone. So net shell result is the fatty acids are mobilized from their storehouses, adipose tissues, then their conversion into the acetyl-CoA, then their utilization in the energy and the lean body mass. Then the growth hormone causes the utilization for the fatty acids. The growth hormone utilizes fatty acids for the source of energy in preference to the carbohydrate and the proteins. And then last one is their ketogenic effect, that is due to the more production of the acetoacetic acid by the liver, and it will lead to the formation of ketosis and the fatty liver. Then we move to the carbohydrates. The third one is the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates, growth hormone decrease the carbohydrates utilization. Then it creates insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, or you can say the growth hormone is a diabetogenic hormone, that is growth hormone can cause the diabetes. Let's see the step by step. Actually, the growth hormone causes the resistance to the function of insulin. Resistance of insulin means the insulin is there. The function of the insulin is to facilitate the movement of glucose through the cell membrane through a receptor into the cell. But if these receptors are not functioning properly, we will call, although the amount of insulin required for this purpose is much more or according to the standard, but this insulin cannot function on the receptor, and this is known as the resistance. Now this growth hormone causes the resistance to the insulin, and this is probably due to the excessive free fatty acids. Although this is an experimental thing which is written in your book, that is due to the excess of the free fatty acids, the insulin resistance is produced under the effect of the growth hormone. Now this growth hormone needs insulin and carbohydrate to promote growth, because carbohydrate provides energy for the growth and insulin causes the transport of amino acids into the cell. Now keep in mind that the function of insulin is not only the cause the movement of glucose into the cell, but at the same time insulin causes the movement of the amino acids into the cell, which is required for the synthesis of the proteins also. So the growth hormone, why they are diabetogenic? Because they create resistance. Insulin is there, but this insulin cannot work on the receptor, and this is due to the excessive free fatty acid in the body. Now when more and more insulin is there and its function is glucose cannot enter into the cell, so there will be a hyperglycemia, and this hyperglycemia is known as the diabetes mellitus. Excess of the glucose in your plasma, in your extracellular fluid is known as the diabetes. Now you have seen that the glucose needs, so growth hormone needs insulin and the carbohydrate. Both these things are required by the growth hormone, that is insulin and the carbohydrate. And this carbohydrate is for the promotion of growth, and because carbohydrate provides energy and the insulin is required for the movement of amino acids into the cells. Now, once the growth hormone is produced, it is going to affect the liver, and liver is going to produce a small proteins which are known as the somatomedins, that have the potent effect on increasing all aspects of the bone growth, and these are now known as the insulin-like growth factors. There are four types of the somatomedins. Somatostatin, statin means static, that is the coming from the hypothalamus, and it's going to cause the inhibition of the growth hormone production by the pituitary, while somatomedins, they are coming from the liver under the effect of the growth hormone. There are two different things, somatomedins and somatostatin. Now there are four types of the somatomedins. One of the very important is the somatomedin C. This somatomedin C is going to affect the cartilages of the bone. They are going to affect the different parts of the bones and the linear growth of the bones, and they are also going to affect on the different types of cells which are concerned with the remodeling of the bones. We will see later on how the bones, in the next lecture, how the bones are affected or what are the effects of growth hormone on the bones. Now very important thing, the pygmies of the Africa. This word is pygmies. Actually pygmies, they are the short-statured persons in which they have inability to produce significant amount of somatomedin C, and somatomedin C is concerned with the growth, although it's coming from the liver, but it has the same function of the growth. So once this somatomedin C cannot be produced by the liver, so the height of these people is going to be lower down as compared to the normal people. They are usually small statured persons. So pygmies of the Africa, they have got congenital inability to synthesize a significant amount of somatomedin C. Another type of the dwarfism is Levi-Loran. Both the terminologies are used for pronouncing. Levi-Loran is the proper one. Levi-Loran dwarfism, in which again there is a deficiency of somatomedin C, due to which these persons cannot attain a height. So this was about the somatomedins and the different functions of the growth hormone or carbohydrate, and this is about we will see in the next lecture how the growth hormone is going to affect the cartilages in the bone soon. Thank you very much.